Hi everyone, good afternoon. So thank you to all of you who have to join this online class. So let me introduce me. My name is Alicia from the EIBPM Nusantara. So in this beautiful day, I would like to say thank you to all of you who have participated in this online class, and especially for Mrs. Alvistia from the Universitas Pembangunan Nasional Veteran Yogyakarta, who will uh, explain the topic about risk management. Okay, so Mrs. Alvistia Maridia SAMACCAK is a lecturer at Universitas Pembangunan Nasional Veteran Yogyakarta, Indonesia since 2020. She has expertise at accounting, bank, and non-bank financial institutions, financial information analysis, and management information systems. She has 8 years experience as credit risk manager in PT Bank Mandiri Persero Tbk in Indonesia, and she already published her papers in international journal. She also a member of Association of International Business and Professional Management. So for Mrs. Alvistia, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Miss Alicia. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's session on risk management, and I hope you are all doing well and ready for an insightful discussion. Let me introduce myself. I am Alvistia Maradidya, and you can call me Alvis. This afternoon, we'll be diving into some key principle and practical approach to managing risk effectively, and we are here not only to understand the theories, but also to explore how this concept apply in real world situations. Before we begin, maybe this day will be two group presentations. Before we will begin with our two presentations and discussions, I'll start with a brief overview of risk management to set the context for today's situation. So, as you all know, risk management is about identifying, assessing, and responding to potential risks that could impact an organization objectives. It's essential for every sector, and from finance to energy, to protect their asset and ensure sustainability growth. Today we'll explore how two prominent companies, PT Asuransi Jiwasraya and PT Pertamina, have approached their unique risk challenge. First, Group 1 will lead us through the case of PT Asuransi Jiwasraya, giving us insight into risk management challenge in the insurance industry. And following that, Group 5 will present on PT Pertamina, focusing on the unique risks and strategies in the energy sector. And I'm looking forward to hearing your analysis and seeing some lively discussions that makes this session interactive and insightful for everyone. All right, let's get started. Maybe in Group 1, are you ready?
Yes, we ready, Miss.
Okay, all right. Group 1, let's begin with you. Please share your screen with the presentation, and so we can follow along and the floor is yours.
Miss Alfie, can you see the presentation?
Yes. Okay.
Can we start the presentation, Miss?
Yes, you can start.
Okay. I'm sorry because I don't on my cam because I don't have camera. I'm using a computer first, Miss. Okay,
Okay, it's
so
okay.
good afternoon, Miss Alvis and friends. We are from Group 1, and we will present our case study for this class today on the Jiwasraya fraud case involving its GS saving program. My name is Saferian Nathan and my student number is 275. Then
My name is Gibran Hadri Ramadan with study number 31.
My name is Septian Jayanti with study number 154.
My name is Helen Raini with study number 238. My name is Lidwina Imri with student number 291.
okay, for the first slide, I will give to my friend.
Okay, first, about introduction. In 2019, the national financial industry was shocked by the default case of the state-owned insurance company PT Asuransi Jiwasraya, which is the largest state-owned insurance company in the insurance sector, was established on December 31, 1859. The Attorney General's office revealed that the potential state losses from the alleged corruption case of the PT Asuransi Jiwasraya could reach 17 billion, and the actual amount of value is being calculated by the Financial Audit Agency or BBK. The value comes from a 10 years review of the file from 2008 to 2018. The Asuransi Jiwasraya actually occur in one of its flagship products called JS Saving Plan. JS Saving Plan is a life insurance product as well as an investment of banking or bancassurance. Unlike unit-like insurance product whose investment risk is borne by the policyholder, the JS Saving Plan is a non-life investment whose risk is fully borne by the insurance company. This risk offers a very high guarantee return with a disbursement period of years. This return value is much higher or almost double the interest offered by bank deposits, which at that time was in the range of 5 until 7%. There are 70,000 JS policy holders. The total number of Jiwasraya policy holders as a while, including policy holders of other products, reaches 7 million policyholders. Some of the alleged cause of Jiwasraya's default include loss-making products, low asset management performance, illiquid liquidity of investment and non-investment assets, weak corporate control system, poor corporate governance, and unreliable information system, unproductive brand office, inefficient operational costs, limited access to capital, lack of innovation in the field of product and service, limited quality of insurance human research, less professional work culture, and unmodern work facilities and infrastructures. Next slide. Okay, next about enterprise risk management. At the planning, PT Asuransi Jiwasraya sold establish a comprehensive risk strategy considering liquidity risks, investment risks, and operational risks. Healthy insurance companies generally implement prudent investment policies with adequate adequate asset diversification and liquidity reserve to ensure the ability to pay customer claims. Jiwasraya, however, failed to anticipate risk that arise due to its high risk investment strategy and lack of sufficient research, which ultimately leave the company vulnerable to sudden market change. Number two, about implementing, PT Asuransi Jiwasraya saw significant weakness in supervision of the implementation of investment and financial management. The company placed customer fund in high-risk investment instruments such as volatile stock and illiquid mutual funds without conducting adequate risk evaluation. Neglect of the principle of prudence and weak implementation of good corporate governance indicate that the management of customer funds is not in accordance with safe and sustainable practice standards. Number three, at the mentoring, PT Asuransi Jiwasraya should conduct periodic monitoring to identify early change in risks through capital adequacy, measurement, liquidity risk analysis, and stress testing. These steps are important for detecting potential failures early and adjusting strategies in the event of change in market conditions. However, Jiwasraya failed to carry out this monitoring, so it didn't detect or overcome the worsening liquidity difficulties, and finally was unable to fulfill customer claim obligation. Lack of transparency to the public and regulators also worsened the condition, leading to a decline in customer trust in the company. Last, in the learning, PT Asuransi Jiwasraya can draw valuable lessons from this case to improve risk management policies and procedures. Evaluation of existing risk management weakness and the preparation of a more prudent investment policy are steps that need to be taken so that similar incidents don't recur. This learning can also be the basic for Jiwasraya to implement better corporate governance, increase transparency to regulator and the public, and the development stronger risk mitigation measures. From the industry side, this case is a trigger from regulators to tighten supervision and improve regulation in the insurance sector to ensure that insurance company prioritize and the principle of prudence and customer protective. Next slide.
Okay, next, organizational environment. The organizational environment is the external and internal factors that influence the operations and performance of a company. In the Jiwasraya case, several organizational environmental factors contribute. First, investment mismanagement. The company invested in high-risk and liquid instruments, such as a penny stock. This caused the value of the investment to plummet, making it difficult for the company to meet its claim payment obligations. Second, inaccurate financial reporting. Jiwasraya engaged in window dressing of its financial statements, making the company financial condition appear much better than it actually was. This practice was done to cover up the increasing investment losses. Next. Organizational environment. Next, high-risk investment product. The Jiwasraya Saving Plan product offered by Jiwasraya had a very high rate of return but also carried a high degree of risk. This product was not suitable for the risk profile of most policyholders. And fourth, weakness in corporate governance. Weak internal and external oversight allowed for corrupt practice and embezzlement of company funds. And the last, pressure to achieve revenue targets. In an effort to achieve high revenue targets, Jiwasraya management took unnecessary risks, such as investing in highly speculative instruments. Next slide. Impact case of difficult of PT Asuransi Jiwasraya customer claims. First, financial losses for policyholders. Thousands of policyholders suffered significant financial losses as a result of the claim default. Many of them lost most or all of their retirement savings. Second, loss of public trust. The case caused a loss of public trust in the insurance industry. Many people are hesitant to purchase insurance products for fear of experiencing a similar situation. Third, change in regulation. New and stricter regulations have been implemented regarding investment management, financial reporting, and corporate governance of insurance companies. Fourth, strengthening oversight of the insurance industry. The governments and relevant authorities have taken oversight of the insurance industry to prevent similar incidents from the happening again. And the last, damage to the reputation of the insurance industry. The Jiwasraya scandal damaged the reputation of the entire insurance industry, even though not all insurance companies engage in the same practice. Okay, next.
Okay. We will assess and analyze Jiwasraya initial strategy carried out by PT Asuransi Jiwasraya. Jiwasraya has implemented a best value cost strategy with the release of GS Saving Plan product since 2015. This product is a very interesting for investor. Jiwasraya issues a high quality product that are low risk for investor, namely delivering 6 to 11% of 1 year net profit compared to the average bank at that time, which is 5 to 7%. And finally, investors are flocking to invest their funds in Jiwasraya. They hope that this BUMN company can provide high return. With very high executive assets, Jiwasraya finally ran a system that focuses on placing investment in work towards their own organizations, with an annual rate of return of over 24%. Like the executive organizational ventures such as PT Trimegah Sekuritas, PT Hanson International, and many more. But tragically, this strategy to buy more and more of these shares become an obstacle for Jiwasraya, which in the end, Jiwasraya was negligent to pay customers whose saving plan items have expired. This case did not stop at defaults atau gagal bayar, but there is a component of fraud or Jiwasraya cooperation with various parties in determining the price of the purchase portion by Jiwasraya for their own benefits. Then, the next assessment and analysis, we will try the competitive advantage that Jiwasraya has or had at the time. Competitive advantage is at the center of the organization strategy in a very serious market. This advantage basically comes from the value of profit an organization creates for its buyers, and the quality of these benefits are higher than the cost incurred by the organization to make it. This value or profit is what will be paid for buyers, and value typically comes from offering lower costs than competitors to gain similar profits at similar costs offered. Assuming you check the GS saving item plan, which the net profits from its speculation item is 6 to 11% 1 year moment will not affect the FRIO exam or value variety immutability organization to assess the company Jiwasraya value. When Jiwasraya is unable to pay, the value of this GS saving product will backfire, which from the FRIO exam can be shown as first, it is rarely analyzed that high return products like this are widely used by companies that have a liquidity problems. A healthy companies will consider and take into account the risk of high products cost incurred. And then, second, cost analysis of imitation. Products are easily imitated by other companies, especially when new companies grow in need of customers and struggling in the term of liquidity. Then the last is Jiwasraya is unable to manage the analyzed division, which is proven not good at their job. From fund investment business so that many investments fund placements fail to pay. From the analysis above, the GS saving plan product is very dangerous for Jiwasraya in the long run. This was proven when Jiwasraya failed to pay 30 to 89 billion US dollar to customers who own Jiwasraya GS saving plan product. Okay, next.
The next response to be made by involving the role of the Financial Service Authority or OJK, the Financial Service Authority or OJK as an administrative institution as well as a controller of financial service institution in Indonesia is positively needed to play a role when there are problems that occur in the Monetary Assistance Foundation, both banking and non-banking in Indonesia. OJK also carried out several scans to save the situation of PT Asuransi Jiwasraya Persero. First, short term, namely by establishing a subsidiary, namely PT Jiwasraya Putra, the company is given leeway in the form of a subsidiary to claim insurance claim against several state-owned enterprise or BUMN that have collaborated with PT Asuransi Jiwasraya Persero, namely PT Bank Tabungan Negara Persero Tbk, PT Pegadaian Persero, PT Kereta Api Indonesia Persero, and PT Telkomsel. In addition to the existence of subsidiaries, it is also necessary to attract investors with the aim of helping PT fund its policy claim obligation. Second, long term. But this is still being discussed by stakeholders with the assumption that if it can be conquered now, then later, and now it must fortify Jiwasraya business. As is now, Jiwasraya needed approximately 32 and 89 trillion rupiah in order to achieve a risk-based capital or RBC ratio of at least 120%. In general, RBC is a measurement of the level of financial health of an insurance company, with OJK provision regulation a minimum RBC limit of 120%. Third, next slide. Third, earnest strategy. Earnest strategy that generates 5 trillion rupiah insurance holding initiative of 7 trillion rupiah use financial research scam of 1 trillion rupiah and other source of shareholder fund of 19 and 89 trillion rupiah. Plus, OJK has also held meeting with customer of PT Jiwasraya Persero to obtain complaint for customer in connection with this problem. Next slide. Benefit of proper handling. First, for customer, from the handling of default case by the Financial Service Authority or OJK, customer can regain their rights, get justice, and get protection and good governance. Second, for the government, this case can be a license strangers supervision of the financial sector and ensure that similar incidents do not recur. And the last, in a broader take, the Jiwasraya case has contributed to improving people financial literacy, encouraging them to be smarter in choosing investment product and understanding the associated risks. The next slide.
Okay, next, this material about risk strategy and culture. Key risk management strategies and objective. The first is investment risk identification. Jiwasraya should have conducted a comprehensive risk assessment for its investment portfolio. High risk asset like volatile stock and low credit bonds needed to be identified early to avoid significant loss. Second, investment portfolio diversification. The main purpose of diversification is to reduce the potential for major losses from investment in one sector of instrument. Effective risk management ensures that investment are spread across different asset types with varying risk profile. Next, transparency and internal oversight. It's essential for insurance companies to develop strong internal audit system and financial transparency. Routine audits can help detect potential mismanagement that carries high risk. Next slide. Next, about recommended future strategies. First, investment portfolio restructuring. Jiwasraya need to shift its investment strategy towards more stable, low-risk asset, like government bonds on stock in a stable performing companies. This would help secure cash flow and accurate liquidity to meet obligation to policyholder. Second, strengthening corporate governance. Implementing strong corporate governance can reduce the risk of corruption and financial misreporting. This includes enhancing the role of independent commissioners and external oversight. Next, about recommended future strategies. Enhanced risk management quality. Risk management should focus more on continuous integrated risk monitoring using a risk management information system (RMIS) will allow the company to identify and respond quickly to emerging risks. Next is education and transparency for policyholder. Educating and transparent with policyholder about the product offered is essential to that they understand the risk involved rather than being influenced solely by promised high returns. Next. And next, about how Jiwasraya focus on reputation, recovery, and public trust. Jiwasraya and other insurance companies need to focus on enhancing their reputation by improving risk management and transparency in their business process. This approach includes restructuring their obligation, the policyholder, and ensuring that claims are gradually paid in line with the restructuring plan. Next. And the last, what is the conclusion? In the conclusion, the Jiwasraya case highlight the crucial importance of effective risk management and strong corporate governance in the insurance industry. High risk investment practice and a lack of prudence led Jiwasraya to a point where it could no longer meet its financial obligation to policyholder, resulting in a financial crisis and a loss of public trust going forward. Insurance company must strengthen investment diversification strategies, improve internal oversight, and ensure full regulatory compliance. Leveraging technology-based risk management system and maintaining transparency with policyholder are also essential to detect and manage risk early. In the summary, rigorous risk management, solid governance, and adherence to regulation are key to maintaining financial stability and protecting the interests of policyholder, thereby ensuring long-term business sustainability in the insurance sector.
Well, thank you for your attention for our presentation. Now we go to the question and answer session. You may ask your question now.
Okay, thank you for your attentions. Now we would like to open the floor for questions. We will take up to 3 questions from the audience. And after each question is posed, we'll give the group a moment to discuss and then we'll provide our responses. So please feel free to ask your questions.
My name is Christian Dharma Baptista Sebayang. My student number is 283. My question is, in the presentation, there was the discussion about the lack of transparency. What is the cause of the low transparency and accountability in Jiwasraya Financial Management?
Okay, thank you, Christian. Next, Pandu Sebaniana Yobel.
Hello, my name is Pandu Sebaniana Yobel. My student number is 197. My question for group 1 is there any chance if some regulatory changes have been implemented earlier in the Indonesian insurance industry that can prevent the Jiwasraya scandal? Thank you.
Okay, while we wait for the group to discuss their answers, I will provide a brief summary of this case, maybe in this Jiwasraya case. So the Jiwasraya case underscores a fundamental lessons of management. Neglecting comprehensive risk assessment and management practice can have devastating consequences for both a company and its stakeholders. And Jiwasraya's strategy of prioritizing high returns through risky investments without adequately considering potential downside expose a critical flaw in its risk management approach. And effective risk management, maybe in insurance companies, especially those holding public trust, involves not only prudent investment choice, but also continuous oversight, transparency, and strict effective risk management in insurance companies, especially in those holding public trust, involves not only prudent investment choices, but also continuous oversights, transparency, and strict adherence to governance standards. In Jiwasraya's case, the lack of this element allowed for a dangerous build-up of financial risk, compounded by weak governance that failed to catch or address early warning signs. So the company practices reflect an overemphasis on growth and returns while overlooking the need for stable, low-risk assets that could have safeguarded customer funds. This case also highlight the vital role of regulatory oversights in risk management. Jiwasraya's high-risk choices when unchecked, suggesting that stronger regulatory frameworks are essential in protecting the financial system. stricter oversight and risk-based capital requirements, like those implemented post-scandal, are positive steps to prevent similar incidents in the future. And in the summary, the Jiwasraya case is a cautionary tale about the dangers and of inadequate risk management in financial institution, and it demonstrates that without sound risk assessment, governance, and compliance with regulatory standards, even long-standing institution can face severe consequences that erode public trust and disrupt industry stability. So in this case, emphasize that for sustainability growth, risk management must be prioritized equally alongside financial returns. Maybe that's the brief summary of this case. So, okay, you can answer the questions.
Okay, I will try answer question from you, Bell. The question is what regulatory change could have prevented the Jiwasraya scandal if they had been implementation earlier in the Indonesian insurance industry? And the answer is to prevent a scandal like the one that occurred in Jiwasraya. Some stricter and structured regulatory change can be implemented in the Indonesian insurance industry is first, more transparent and strict regulation related to the management of insurance investment fund need to be implemented. Greater scrutiny of insurance company investment strategies include restriction on high risk, non-transparent investment can prevent scandal related to large losses due to poor investment. Second, the stricter application of the fit and proper principle in the selection of direction and management of insurance company will help ensure that only individuals with high integrity and appropriate experience lead insurance company. Third, increased supervision by the Financial Service Authority or OJK with the use of more sophisticated technology to monitor financial statement and activities of insurance company in real time can identify signs of non-conformity or manipulation early. Fourth, regulation that required insurance company to have sufficient reserve to cover policy obligation transparency can prevent companies from falling into risky financial condition. The last regulation related to the disclosure of clear information about the financial condition of insurance company to customer can increase awareness and protection for customers, thereby reduce the potential for fraud.
Okay, next I will answer the question from Christian. The question is, in the presentation you gave, there was a discussion about the lack of transparency. What is the cause of the low transparency and accountability in Jiwasraya's financial management? Okay, the lack of transparency and accountability in Jiwasraya's financial management can be attributed to several factors. First, weak corporate governance, lack of independent oversight, the absence of strong independent boards and audit committees allowed for mismanagement and potential conflict of interest to go unchecked. Second, opaque financial reporting. Misleading financial statements. Jiwasraya engaged in window dressing techniques to conceal its deteriorating financial health, making it difficult for investors and regulators to assess the true financial situation. Third, political interference. Pressure to achieve target. Politic pressure to meet unrealistic performance target may have led to reckless investment decision and disregard for prudent financial practice. And the last, regulatory failures. Regulatory authorities may have failed to exercise sufficient oversight and enforce existing regulation. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
Sorry, there's a question in the Zoom chat from Dewi Hidayatul. From your point of view, how important is it for an insurance company like Jiwasraya to regularly assess and manage its risks? What steps should be taken to improve this? Group 1, you can answer the questions.
Yes, Miss. Okay, I will answer question from Devi Hidayatul. In my opinion and my group, for an assurance company like a Jiwasraya, regularly assessing and managing risk is absolutely crucial and very important. Insurance companies operate the promise of managing long-term liabilities and ensuring they have enough asset to cover policyholder claim. A failure to assess and manage risk effectively can lead to serious financial instability, loss of trust, regulatory violation, and even bankruptcy. As seen with Jiwasraya, below are the key reasons why risk management is vital and the steps that sought to taken to improve it. First is important of regular risk assessment and management is financial solvency. An insurance company must regularly assess the risk associated with its investment and liabilities to ensure it can meet future claims. Without robust risk management, and insurer could face solvency issues if it failed to predict potential claim or market downturn. Second is protecting policyholder. Policyholder expects the company to have enough capital to honor claim. Regular risk assessment ensures that company remains solvent and able to pay out when necessary, fostering customer confidence and trust. And the last is compliance with regulation. Insurance company are subject to strict regulation, and that mandate adequate risk management practice. Failing to comply can result in regulatory fines, sanction, or closure, as was the case with Jiwaraya. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much to Group 1 for your presentation and insightful discussion. Now we would like to invite Group 5 to present the next case about PT Pertamina. Please proceed with your presentations. Group 5, you can share your presentations.
Okay, is my screen have been appeared on the screen, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Okay, before we start, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I want to say thank you to all of you guys that have been attend in this class. And of course, we would like to say thank you also to Mrs. Alvis as our lecturer. And before we start the presentation, we would like to introduce ourselves. We are from Group 5 with me, Puspita Dianasari, with student number 19 and 7, and our member, you can introduce yourself.
My name is Nina Sharifa with study number 228.
My name is Rahti Pelia with study number 009.
My name is Irfan Fawaz Danindra, number student 273.
And that's all of our team member. And today we would like to present about the compliance risks and legal risks in the case of the former president director of Pertamina. So before we go to the case, we would like to introduce about the company. So I know that maybe all of you guys here know about the Pertamina. Pertamina is Indonesia's state-owned energy enterprise. It's we usually called BUMN and primarily operating in oil and gas from exploration until the distribution. And this is founded in the 1957, and Pertamina play a critical role in managing the nation's energy supply and aim to be a global energy leader. It operates several subsidiaries, including Pertamina Hulu Energy, that are responsible for exploration. And Pertamina also commit to renewable energy development as part of its sustainability transition. And we would like to get into the case. So the cash flow and problem detail. So the case background is from start that Karen Agustiawan. So Karen Agustiawan is a former president director of PT Pertamina, and she is led the acquisition of ROC Oils, 10% stake in the BMG block into 2009 through Pertamina subsidiary Pertamina Hulu Energy. The acquisition was intended to increase Pertamina production capacity, but resulted in the production that did not meet the expectation and ultimately caused financial loss for Pertamina and was even considered a corruption case. And this is about start from that. This is case is start with the problem in the decision-making process. So Karen provided a memo to the Board of Commissioners for approval to that project, which was interpreted by the Board of Commissioners as participant in an international tender rather than an acquisition. In this process, there was a misalignment between the BOC or a Board of Commissioners interpretation and implementation on the ground. And also it continue approval procedure controversy. In the process, the BOC gave initial approval through a memo, but later revoked it during project execution. Once the tender process was underway, the BOC revocation became ambiguous as the initial memo was deemed insufficient as a final approval for the execution of the acquisition. So the result is all of that is giving an impact, and because of BMG did not meet the production target that have been target by the Pertamina and the appointment that have been alignment in the start and was deemed uneconomical. The investment was considered a state loss by the Attorney General Office, and consequently, Karen was accused of committing corruption for allegedly breaching approval procedure. So, this is we can see the root of the problem, that is first weak of governance system. This case demonstrates weak governance at Pertamina, particularly in the collaboration and communication between the Board of Directors and the Board of Commissioners, which lacks the principle of transparency and accountability. And also, there is formal compliance and approval. There was non-compliance with formal procedure where approval moved memos were deemed valid without clarity of the process and scope. And also, the last one is solidity in decision making. The POC was not solid. Some members who were in favor later withdrew their approval, indicating a lack of consensus and consistent in risk assessment. So that the problem give an impact, actually impact for the current and also for the Pertamina. There is for impact. First is legal impact. The case led to legal consequence for Karen Agustiawan with corruption charge carrying the risk of criminal prosecution. This case also saw how compliance risk can escalate into legal risk when not managed properly. And also company reputation. Pertamina was negatively impacted in the term of its international reputation, as the decision to proceed with the tender process could not be resolved without a major penalty. This impact the Pertamina image as a state-owned company in the global area. And also the third one is financial loss. From a financial perspective, the failure of this investment caused loss that burdened Pertamina's finance and created potential loss of around the 568 billion for the state. And also the last one, importance of KRC or governance, risk management, and compliance integration. This case highlight the importance of more integrative KRC implementation in companies, especially those with SOE status, to ensure that governance, risk management, and compliance run synergistically and prevent the greater risk. Okay, the next will be presented by
Okay, the next is risk strategy and cultural Pertamina. Risk strategy, risk indikasi in the 2009 Pertamina identifikasi investment opportunities about including in the investment journey BMC block in Australia. However, the risk mitigation for legend in profitability aspect was not operational management. To election management should have done to for who be in to me prevent identifying financial legend and operational risk in the BMC case. In the investment in divisi was consolidated, including material to the implement risk information, risk assessment and monitoring, implementing and steering monitoring system for investment as a periodic evaluation and risk reporting work have reduced potential loss for possible investment. During planning need to coordinating place for merger investment to manage loss in if a project does not meet expectation. Next. Kultur transparent and accountability state-owned complaint like Pertamina strengthen a culture of transparency in decision making, transparency regarding investment decision should have clean apparel or version leadership level to version accountability. equality in interjersey. For the culture of adherence to company rules and applicable ways, including transparent business then is essential for managing staff on the apprentice path and places in produce or standard like in the need for healthcare on compliant creative in risiko management, cultivating risiko awareness, including together the company ensures that all investment are equally in value and potential risks are fully understood for before decisions are made. Human Resource and Development, strengthening and HR related to bear training on the investment decision, marketing and risk analysis to reduce risk marketing effort in the future.
Okay, next risk assessment and analysis. Number one, analysis dari Karen Agustiawan. We learned there were violation of regulation related to good corporate governance. For example, questionable investment decision such as asset acquisition that did not follow procedure potentially violate provisions set by the government and supervisory institution. Impact: compliance breaches can lead to large fines from regulators, discreet trust by authorities, as well as close scrutiny of Pertamina future operation. Mitigation: implement stricter compliance policies, update decision-making process, and improve compliance training for management and employees. Next. Through legal risk analysis, the legal aspects by Karen Agustiawan could shares legal implication for Pertamina. If no company is said to be involved in illegal acts or negligent in supervision, this could lead to significant legal liability. Impact: potential criminal sanction, prolonged litigation, and financial loss due to legal settlement. In addition, other official at Pertamina could face more in-depth investigation, prolonged legal issue. Mitigation: engage a strong legal team to manage legal risk, liaise with authorities, and ensure effective legal risk management policy. Next slide. Number 3, business risk analysis, strategic decision dari Karen Agustiawan. Denote such investment in unprofitable or unstrategic project affect business sustainability. Misinvestment could reduce capital for other important projects and undermine Pertamina ability to compete in the global energy market. Impact: discredit for profitability, reduce competitive and potential loss of growth opportunities in the highly competitive energy sector. Strategic failures could hamper achievement of production and distribution target. Mitigation: conduct a thorough evaluation of investment decision, review the business portfolio, and adopt a more prudent and data-driven approach to business. Next.
Number 4, reputation risk. Analysis discuss greatly over Pertamina image in the eyes of the public, investor, and other stakeholders. Action deemed unethical or untransparent could undermine the trust that has been built over the years. Impact is read through from customer and business partner, which might lead to loss of investment and strategic partnership. Negative perception can even affect a company relationship with government and international institutions. Mitigation run reputation people complex, improve communication and transparency, and strengthen community relationship through positive CSR program. Next.
Okay, the next presenter.
Risks response. Number 1, legal and reputational risks. The court decision against Kiran Agus Setiawan raised concerns among the management of Pertamina and other BUMN regarding legal complaint. Pertamina started its commitment to ensure that all business activity comply with applicable regulation, both domestic and international. Pertamina Chief Legal Counsel Aji Prayudi emphasized the importance of complying with regulation in every acquisition plan to avoid legal risk in the future. Next. Impact on business politics. This case sparked discussion about more powerful business politics among state-owned companies. The application of the Business Judgment Rule, or BJR, doctrine is in the spotlight, where decisions taken by directors cannot be considered as criminal if they meet certain criteria. However, with the verdict against Agus Setiawan, there are concerns that similar action in the future could result in legal consequences. Next. Strategy adjustment. Pertamina plans to more attention to risk analysis and legal compliance in every strategic step, especially in oversized acquisition. That includes considering a financial, taxation, and security aspect of the country where the investment is made. Next. Tightened internal supervision. This incident prompted Pertamina to ensure international supervision and transparency in decision making. It is hoped that stricter supervision can prevent irregulation and ensure the accountability of company leaders. Next.
Okay, that's all of our presentation. The next session is the Q&A session. Maybe there is any of you that want to ask about our case or anything. You can raise your hand or can write in the chat of the Zoom.
Okay, thank you for Group 5 for the detailed presentations. Now we would like to open the floor for questions from the audience. We will take up to 3 questions. After each questions, Group 5 will have a moment to discuss before they provide their answers. Okay, class, you can raise your hand.
Okay.
Siti Adira.
Okay, thank you for my name is Adira with card number 199. The question is, what are the weaknesses in Pertamina's due diligence process? And what should Pertamina do to improve its internal control system to prevent similar risks? Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry, Siti Adira. I can't clearly hear your question. Maybe you can send it to the chat box or in the group. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, the next question, Zafira.
Okay, my name is Zafira Arum Nurul Aziza. My study number is 287. My question is, why do discrepancies between the board of commissioner and directors in understanding approval memo occur? And what step can be taken to prevent this kind of miscommunication in the future?
Okay, thank you for the question. Maybe you can also send it to the chat box, Zafira. Thank you.
Okay. Maybe is there any question? Okay. To group 5, you can discuss before you provide your answers. Okay, while we wait for the group to discuss their answers, I will provide a brief summary about this case. This case is about Pertamina, and the Pertamina case involving Karen Agustiawan decisions to acquire shares in the BMG oil block is a prime example of what can go wrong when risk management isn't fully applied. Imagine being in a company where big decisions like buying shares in a foreign oil project are made without everyone being fully aligned or following a clear approval process. That's essentially what happened here, and it ended up costing Pertamina financially and damaging its reputations. For those of you who may wonder why this matters so much, think of it this way. In risk management, every decisions need thorough checks, and Pertamina's acquisition was intended to boost productions, but it didn't yield the results expected. The board and the management were not fully on the same page about this project, and leading to compliance issues and even legal consequences. How might things have gone differently if everyone involved that clearly understood the risk and the need for proper checks? What's crucial to learn from this case is that good governance and compliance are like guardrails. They help a company stay safe and avoid unnecessary risks. And Pertamina needed to ensure transparency in its decision making and follow a rigorous process. Imagine if in our personal life we invested in something risky without doing the research, there's a high chance and it might not end well. It's similar here, but on a much larger scale. So to group 5, please go ahead with your answers. Okay, and there's a question from the chat box from Destiana Tripamungkas. From what explained, what do you think is the importance of a culture of transparency and accountability in decision making for BUMNs like Pertamina, especially in this case? Okay. So there are 3 questions from Siti Adira, Zafira Arum, and Destiana Tripamungkas.
Okay, maybe I would like to answer the question from Destiana. The question is from what was explained, what do you think is the importance of the culture of transparency and accountability in decision making for BUMN like Pertamina, especially in this case? So, a culture of transparency and accountability is crucial in decision making, especially for BUMN. And this is honored from the public, this is our crucial, really crucial, and as it serves multiple essential functions. The first one, enhancing trust and integrity. For state-owned enterprise, trust is vital as they operate on a public fund and serve a national interest. Transparency ensures that decision-making processes are open and understandable to all stakeholders, building trust in the institution and reducing the risk of public and governmental scrutiny over decision, and also promoting responsible governance. Accountability ensures that decision makers are held responsible for their action, which is particularly important in high-stakes decisions involving significant resources, as seen in the Pertamina case. When accountability is ingrained, leaders are more likely to follow procedure diligently and consider all possible risks and implications before acting. Okay. The third one, also preventing miscommunication and ambiguity. A transparent culture clarifies expectation and reduce misinterpretation as each board and department understand the purpose, scope, and criteria for decision making. In Pertamina case, better transparency and accountability would have prevented the ambiguity around the memo intent and scope, as all parties would have been clear on the respective roles and responsibility. And also, reducing risk of legal consequence. When decisions are transparent and accountable, they are more likely to meet legal standard and compliance requirement. This reduces likelihood of action being perceived as corrupt or negligent, protecting the organization and its leader from potential legal repercussion, as illustrated by the risk that in the Pertamina case, and also strengthening operational and financial outcome. Transparent and accountable decision making ensure that investment and strategic action are evaluated thoroughly, leading to better financial and operational results. And this is critical in sector like energy in the Pertamina, where investment are capital intensive and poor decision can result in large losses, as in the decision that have been taken from current. Okay, maybe that's the answer from me. Is any of you guys want to answer, and there is additional answer? Maybe you can raise hand or you can write. And maybe Destiana, is my answer enough?
Okay, maybe group 5, you can answer the next questions.
Okay, I will answer the question from Zahira Aram. We do discrimination between the board of commissioner and director in understanding approval memos also, and what step can be taken to prevent this kind of miscommunication in the future. Cause of discrepancy in understanding. Number one, different interpretation of the approval memo. The POC interpret the memo as approval to participate in international tender, while in reality it was implemented as approval for an acquisition. Number two, inadequate approval process. The memo profit was only an initial approval, lacking detailed final authorization. Number three, insufficient communication and collaboration. There was a lack of effective communication and coordination between the PUC and the board of directors. Steps to prevent miscommunication in the future. Number one, draft approval memo with specific and clear language. Approval memo should be with precise and unambiguous language, include detail on objective, scope, and project limitation. Number two, hold direct discussion between POC and director for mutual understanding. Number three, document decision thoroughly with comprehensive record. Number four, strengthen transparency and accountability to ensure shared information access. In the last, profit training on risk management and governance to align decision making. That's my answer. Thank you.
Okay. Maybe there are two questions. You can answer the question from Siti Adira and Devani Putri.
Okay, I will answer Adira question. Number one, low transparency. Someone is the three is back of transparency in data research for analysis. Number two, weak internal control. Third, there are efforts to strengthen internal control systems such as internal control of confidential reporting information sale needs to be improved to be more effective in detecting and protecting potential regulars. Number three, low transparency in someone case. There is a lack of transparency in the data used for analysis. This can create space for data manipulation and corruption, which harm the energy discussion like uh, uh, in in insurance. Number one, insurance combined with uh, do with do with dual dealing procedure. Pertamina needs to ensure that all enforcement decisions are only take after complaint and independent due diligence process has been completed. Number two, insurance transparency implementation implementation of greater transparency politic through the decision-making process include publication of the delegate result and justification of discussion to stakeholders. Number three, contact clause implement ensuring that all contract have caused the project Pertamina interest and carry out a thorough risk analysis before significant breakthrough. how it is announced?
Okay, maybe you can answer from the question from Devani Putri. It's the last question. It's about how effective were the measures in mitigating potential impacts on the company according to your group?
Yeah. I will answer frequency Devania Putri. The activities of the imitation of measure detection of factor like accurate risk identification from aksi and organisasi dan key indicator include number 1 financial impact did it run financial losses number 2 operational community then it maintains operasi number 3 stakeholder run that its sustansi or improve trust. Number 4 recover speed who lucky that and company recover.
Okay, Miss Devani, is it enough?
Thank you the frequency for Devania Putri.
Okay. Okay, yes, it seems that all questions have been addressed. If there are any remaining question for additional clarification needed, please feel free to let us know. And thank you for everyone active participation and engagement in discussing about this case. So, thank you, Group 5. Thank you, Group 1 for your presentations. Thank you to you both for presenting their case and summarizing and providing to full recommendation and its issue. Your insight it help us understand the importance of risk management and good governance in maintaining financial sustainability and public trust. Great job, everyone. Okay, maybe here's a risk management summary related to the two cases discussed about Jiwasraya and Pertamina. First case of Jiwasraya, the Jiwasraya scandal involved mismanagement and high-risk investment decisions that led to the company inability to meet its obligation to policyholders. And Jiwasraya's issues stem from investing heavily in volatile and illiquid assets without adequate oversight or risk assessment. And these decisions were compounded by weak governance and unethical practice, such as window dressing financial reports. So this is the 3 risk management lessons from that case. The first is importance of diversification and prudence. Maybe the insurance company should invest in stable and diversified assets that match their financial obligation. And the second lessons is government and transparency. It's strong corporate governance and routine audits and transparent financial reporting are essentials to prevent corruption and mismanagement. And the last lessons from The case of Jiwasraya is the case led to stricter regulations, underscoring the need for companies to align closely with regulatory standards to protect both themselves and their clients. And then from the case of Pertamina, the Pertamina case revolved around the acquisition of foreign oil assets in the BMG block, a decision that resulted in significant financial losses. This case is highlight weaknesses in decision making and governance, so as there were gaps in approval and compliance processes that created legal, financial, and reputational risks of Pertamina. So there are 3 risk management lessons. The first is clear governance and approval processes. So major decisions require clear alignment and formal approvals from all the key stakeholders to prevent misunderstanding and ensure accountability. And the second is due diligence and compliance. Through due diligence, especially for high-stakes investments, it's critical to identify potential risks and evaluate profitability before proceeding. And then the last is proactive risk monitoring and contingency planning, where regular monitoring and having a contingency plan for international projects can mitigate potential loss and ensure are managed throughout the project life cycles. So in summary, both case emphasize the importance of integrated risk management practice that include sound governance, transparency, compliance, and prudent decision-making, and strong internal controls, alignment with regulatory standards, and proactive approach to risk assessment are essential for organization, especially in high-risk sectors like insurance and energy. Okay, class, is there any questions?
Enough, ma'am.
Okay, if it is enough, maybe thank you to all participants for the engaging discussion and insightful question on the 2 case studies we explored today. These cases have provided valuable lessons on the importance of effective risk management, about governance and compliance in ensuring organizational stability and public trust. And we hope this session has deepened your understanding of the real-world applications of risk management principles. With that, we conclude today's risk management class. I now return the sessions to our moderator. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Miss.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Miss Fistia. So to all students, thank you for your participation in this class. I hope that this class can give you huge benefits for your studies. And I will share the attendance link in the chat box, so make sure that you fill the link. And I have 2 attendance links, so please fill both. And I think that's enough for today. And we will see you in next week's, right, Miss Alficia? Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay. So thank you and have a nice day.
Okay, thank you, Miss Alicia.